In section 5.5, we learned how to use the Pythagorean theorem. And the Pythagorean theorem is used to find how long one side of the triangle is. But the only catch is that you have to use the formula if you're given a right triangle. You cannot use the formula for any other triangle. So notice in this yellow post-it note how I drew myself a right triangle. The box in the bottom left makes us aware that it's a right triangle because when you see that box, that means the angle is 90 degrees. And notice how that box touches two sides of the triangle. And those two sides that it touches are called the legs. And the legs we label with the letters A and B, and those are my A and B in the formula. Now, it does not matter which side you let be A and what one you let be B, but you can switch them around if needed. Okay. Notice my hypotenuse is the side that is diagonal from the right angle box, and that is always my C value. Now you cannot put C anywhere else in the triangle, it will always be the hypotenuse. So if we look at triangle 1, notice how they labeled this bottom line B. Now here's my right angle box. So my right angle box touches an A side and a B side so that I know, so now I know that the 8 side corresponds with A, and my hypotenuse is diagonal from my right angle. So I know that 10 is going to be C. Now I'm going to take this information and plug it into my formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay. My A value is 8. So I have 8 to the second power plus my B value is what we're trying to find. So that's going to stay B to the second power equals my C value is 10. So that's 10 to the second power. Now, once you've plugged the numbers into the formula, you want to simplify the squares. So 8 to the second power, in your calculator, if you're not aware how to do that, you type 8 and then the x squared button, and you get 64. So 8 to the second power is 64. Since you simplify that, the square goes away. Drop down the plus sign. We don't do anything with the b squared. That's what we're trying to find. Drop down the equals, and then in your calculator, 10 squared is you type 10, and then you hit the x squared button, equals 100. Now, from here, you have to have the variable on a side by itself, just like you would any other equation. So let's subtract 64 on both sides. Just treat this like a regular equation, and the b squared drops down. So does the equal sign, and 100 minus 64 is 36. Now, when you solve an equation, your goal is to always get b on a side by itself. However, notice that we have to get rid of the second power piece. In order to undo squaring something, you square root it on both sides. When you square root it, the squared disappears, and I drop down the b equals. And in your calculator, in order to put a square root symbol in, you hit the second button, you hit the x squared button, and then you type the number. So in my calculator, I'm going to hit second x squared 36, and that gives me b is equal to 6. Now this is side length, so notice how your triangle is labeled in feet, so you want FT as your label. Notice, I'll do problem number 5. Okay, my right triangle box is in the bottom left, which makes my side or my legs A and B, whereas my hypotenuse is already labeled with a C because that's what we're trying to find. So I'm going to start writing the formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now my A is 50, so I have 50 squared, plus my B is also 50, so 50, okay, give me 1 second, 50 squared equals, there's nothing that gets plugged in for C because that's what I'm trying to find. Once you plug your numbers in, you want to simplify 50 to the second power, and we get 2,500. So 2,500 plus 50 squared we just did, which is 2,500 equals c squared. Now treat this like any other equation, okay? I need to combine like terms. So 2,500 plus 2,500 is equal to 5,000. So 5,000 equals c to the second power. And now that I have this small equation here, in order to undo squaring something, I square root it. The squared and the square root cancels out, and I get that c is equal to, put that in your calculator second, x squared 5,000, and I get 70.7. It tells me to round to the nearest tenth, so notice how the 1 does not bump the 7 up, so it stays 70.7, and your label is millimeters.